This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, Avram. The thing that I complain about most in corporate IT right now is zero trust. But there's another thing that's a little different than zero trust that drives people crazy too. And you've got some solutions.
Right. Well, isn't this zero trust? I mean, isn't it?
A bit, yeah. I suppose so. The assumption that the employee is always dead unless they tell you otherwise, which has been
Right.
my
Well,
experience.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, if I just really strongly. So, first of all, we're going to talk about mouse jigglers. But before we do, I'm going to tell you what a mouse jiggler is, why I think it's okay that we talk about it, and why people are using them. So, uh, uh, obviously, people have been remote working since way before the pandemic, and even within the office, you're not always right next to all of your colleagues, and a lot of people have uh, chat that they're on, like Slack or Microsoft Teams, and or they have a corporate laptop that goes to sleep after like 5 minutes, and they can't change the sleep time out. And they, if they get up to go for an extended bathroom break or to get a snack, they don't want to look like they're slacking. So they are looking for things that will keep the computer awake. They will keep your, and that is literally a mouse jiggler. Now, now there are obviously a lot of talk about people being lazy, like, oh, I'm just gonna have something jiggle my mouse and go not work. Well, here's the thing. First of all, if somebody really wants to spy, if a company really wants to spy on you, a mouse jiggler will not fool it. There is really detailed PC monitoring software that's out there that you can pay, that a company can pay for, that you can't detect, and it will take screenshots of your screen, log your keystrokes, log what apps you used, all that stuff. So simply moving a mouse back and forth is not going to fool it in the slightest. Um, but so the question is, what kind of manager is looking at someone's away status in Slack or Teams and being like, oh, that person is such a hard worker. Their icon's always green, or that person is such a slacker. I saw that their icon turned red for a while, or like, or um, so anyone who is judging their employees by that is a fool and a poor manager, and you should be able to work. You should work around them, because I have, not only do I have some tech experience, but I have been managing employees for more than 2 decades. I have had direct reports of various kinds. So what I have learned, having people who work remotely, having people who sit next to me, having people who sit behind me, uh, is you the way to judge someone's product, judge someone as an employee, is by what they contribute. If someone can have their butt in the seat for 8 hours a day and do a lame job, you want to see, is the person getting the work done? Now, obviously, if you are in a situation where you're communicating with people a lot throughout the day and someone just disappears without saying where they went to, and they disappear for a long time, that's bad, and you got to take it up with them. But that's not something you find out by someone having a red icon or green icon. It's like, hey, are you around? Oh, wait a second, this person's not being responsive to me. So uh, So no one should be slacking off with their job. People should be working hard, but at the same time, like you don't want your some arbitrary timeout deciding when the computer is saying that you're not active. Uh, that that is ridiculous. So there's a few. Also, by the way, you might want a mouse jiggler because you're doing a benchmark, right? Now, technically speaking, you should be able to set Windows not to go to sleep if it's Windows. But I have had situations where the screen went off or something went to sleep, even though I thought I had done everything to prevent sleep, right? To prevent my system from going to sleep. So if you could simulate mouse activity, I mean, that's what the jiggler is, right? It's simulating mouse activity or actually causing mouse activity. Uh, if you simulate mouse activity, the computer's 100% going to stay awake. Um, so let's look at a few ways that you can simulate or actually trigger mouse activity without being there. Um, the simplest way is there is an app called, I'm going to share my screen now. There is an app called, come on, let me move the icon. No? Figure. Okay, there's an app called Mouse Jiggler. So let's share a screen. So Mouse Jiggler, uh, where's my, it has such a tiny little, can you even see it? There you go. It's a tiny little thing. Uh, Little menu. You launch this, you click the jiggling box, you open the settings, and then you get a choice of how often you want it to run. And then I wouldn't do the Zen jiggle. That doesn't really do anything. It's important. So let's say every 2 seconds. Now watch my pointer. I'm not going to touch it for 2 seconds. See that? Did you see that? It moved ever so slightly. There
Yep.
you go. Right? Uh, you can so you just set the amount of time that you want it to go. You can minimize this. Um, you can sort of minimize it so that it's like I closed it, but it's no okay. I didn't minimize. I actually closed it. But you can minimize it, and it will jiggle your mouse. But that is a program you need to be able to run. It actually doesn't install; it just runs. So a computer that's locked down or one where the IT department has a clue of what you're running on there would definitely show that. Here's another possibility: running an Excel macro. So let's say you had Excel on your computer, and um, and you wanted and you were able to allow macros, which may be locked down. Yeah, sorry, I need to make it zoom in more. Anyway, so
You're good.
here's
I
one I've
gotcha.
downloaded. Here's one I've downloaded that is pretty cool, and it lets you set the amount of time you want to move. Then when you hit start, you're going to see it's going to count to 5 seconds, and then shake every. I just set 5 seconds. You could change that. Um, what's nice about this one is if you're actually moving, it won't shake it. So it like resets the timer. So whereas the other one just will just do it. So um, anyway, so that's and then when you're done, you can just close it. So that's those are the software ways to handle it. Now let's talk about the hardware ways to handle it. So you can buy a little USB dongle on Amazon for $8, and you can plug it uh, into your laptop or desktop, and you press a button on it, and it will automatically move the mouse for you every few seconds, and it will appear as a Windows HID human interface device as a mouse in Device Manager, so no one will probably be the wiser. Uh, Similarly, you can actually, if you're worried about that, they sell shaking platforms for $25 to $30. And what you can do with those is you get the platform and you buy it, and it just caught you put your mouse on top of it, and it just every so often literally vibrates your mouse. Um, so that is really undetectable. Um, You can also make your own like mouse jiggler that several ways. I've seen people tie a string to a fan and tie it to an oscillating fan and tie it to their mouse. Uh, there
Okay,
is
that's
a
pretty funny.
mobile app. There is a mobile app called Mouse Jiggler that will use the that will use a combination of like some lines on the screen, which your sensor would have to pick up, and I found not all sensors do pick it up, and haptics to kind of shake your mouse periodically if you want to use your phone for this. Granted, if you're walking away to go to the bathroom, you might take your phone with you. Um, but if you had a tablet lying around, you could attempt that. Um, you can use a Raspberry Pi Pico, which costs $4, and Circuit Python. We have a how-to on how to do this to create a USB mouse jiggler that works like one of the store-bought ones. And uh, those are the oh, and there are mice that have jiggle mode built in. You can buy a $15 mouse. There are not many, so you're not going to get a Logitech with that feature. You're not going to get a Razer mouse or you know, you're not going to get a top of the line mouse. There's weird companies. One's called Pius. If you really want to be pious, you buy the Pius mouse for like $12 to $20. It's like a little wireless mouse and it has a button on it for jiggle mode, and you can put that mouse on it, and then the mouse will. I mean, it doesn't physically jiggle; it will just send the signal for jiggling. So that's your mouse jiggle. Those are your mouse jiggling methods. Uh, I like I said, no one should goof off at their job. This if someone is a, if a company is really paranoid, they're going to spy on you in a much more effective way. Uh, but I'm of the school of management that you should hire good people, you should treat them as adults, and you should judge them by their contributions. Uh, I think it's very lazy and poor management to just look at how whether someone's butt was in the seat. Look at what they did.
Yeah, I've I've never been a fan of the managed by spreadsheet uh, school of any sort. Um, so yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. And then, like you said, there are so many other reasons why you might need something like this. That's not. I mean, just God forbid somebody calls on the phone from the company and you're not there to keep your mouse alive. Anyway, but also, what if, like, for me, right? I've got, because I do Xamarin and Maui development, I've got a PC and I've got a Mac. You know what I'm not always doing? Poking at the Mac. But I do need to make sure it stays alive, because when I'm ready to use it, I need to be able to use it.
Right. That's the thing. I mean, so funny when I put the story up, I got some comments from people who heavily rely on this. So one of them
Mm-hmm.
was someone who works for or another magazine in our company, works for a magazine in our company, which I'm not sure if he still does, but he at least did for a while. And he said he used this all the time at home because anytime he'd walk away to like use the bathroom or whatever, and he'd come back, the computer was locked after 5 minutes, and since it was a corporate computer, he couldn't change the timeout from 5 minutes, and
Yep.
it would make him do like, and he was really annoyed at having to re-log in, and it had like a 2FA login, so
Oh.
it was a really big pain in the butt. um, a friend of mine, the best one though, I have to actually pull up what he said. A friend of mine who works for Hewlett Packard or for HP
Okay.
said something about how he uses it. So what he said is he used them for years on Chromebook demo units because there wasn't a setting to keep them from going to sleep.
Oh. Wow.
This is I don't know if there is now a setting to keep them from going to sleep, but that is an issue. That is definitely an issue with Chrome. Is it's not so easy. At least last I checked, it wasn't so easy to keep Chrome OS from going to sleep. You had to like try and get something that would do a wake lock, and it was difficult. So like, yeah, it's really easy to. It's a really big pain, and like that's a big issue too with our battery tests that we do. is we attempt to we try to set it so that Windows will not go to sleep. And Windows is
Mm-hmm.
decent about this, but every now and again, there's something in there that we didn't see that still causes it to wake up. But
Yeah.
of course, the battery testing, it's a little bit of a question whether we would want to do that. I mean, the software one seems like it would be okay, but like if you're physically moving a mouse, does that mean you have to maintain like a 2.4 gigahertz connection? And is that you wouldn't normally do for laptop battery tests? And would that then
Mm-hmm.
cause it to use more electricity than it would otherwise use?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Like I don't know if that it's a material amount of power, but um, something to look into.
150 or so milliamp hours. So not, I
I mean,
mean, it's not, it's not a material amount. Like it's not a significant amount of power, but it's not an immaterial amount either.
what about a US? What about using a USB mouse dongle that's just attached to the USB port? I wonder how much, because then you have to have something powered by the USB bus, but
Yeah.
it's not. We're talking about a little tiny dongle with a light on it. I'm not sure how much. Like we could try to figure that one out, but like, and maybe I will,
I
but
think if I remember correctly, USB, and this might be 2.1. It might have changed since then, but I think the minimum draw on a USB device was 150 milliamps.
right. So if you're doing that for like, let's say you had an ultrabook, like a lightweight laptop that is supposed to last like 10 hours on a charge, with how many minutes
That's I mean
would
that's
that would
that's a
that cost
whole
you?
that's a whole amp out of the battery if it's supposed to last 10 hours.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It's not
It's
significant, but it's material.
yeah. So there, that's a question. Now the mouse jiggler app might be a good solution, but who knows? Since it's software, it too might be subject to sleeping through, whereas hardware is hard to beat.
Yeah.
And maybe
It's interesting.
I have not tried this, but I know I've seen people come up with weird things that will like whack your keyboard key, whack a key on your keyboard periodically.
Like one of those birds.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I think I've seen people have exactly that. Um,
That's hilarious. Oh, I wouldn't have thought about it until you said something. That's
but
people are
I have not
clever.
heard of a key. I have not heard of a keyboard jiggler. Um,
Just
although it would be equally effective, right? Um,
yeah, like a control key macro.
yeah, it just keeps. But if it's software, like it would have to be on the keyboard
It had
software
to be hardware.
to really be just. Yeah, well, it could be firmware on the keyboard. Like if
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if you
yeah.
could do
Sure,
that
sure, sure.
with like VIA or QMK or something like that. Program the keyboard. But anyway, that's the fun.
I I always love these weird topics, Avram. Honestly, they're my
Yeah,
favorite because it gets me thinking about all kinds of oddities. Like, could I use one of these stream decks over here? Is there a way to, since it's hardware, is there a way to have it press a key on a regular? I bet there is. So now,
but by the
now,
way, I'm going to share a little secret with the audience about like so. Look, obviously I take like writing important good content very seriously and looking for things that our audience can use. And this is obviously not as hardcore high tech as some of the topics we cover, although there is quite a bit to it. And people really do need this information. But I was curious, when I started to see some information about mouse jigglers and hear about from folks about that I know about their need to use this. Like, is this something people search for a lot? So we have a tool we can go to and look at sort of like some search data from the web.
hmm
Guess how many people search for mouse jiggler every month?
oh, probably a lot.
Uh,
1.5
One and a half what?
million.
Oh, okay, it's not that good.
Okay.
110,000.
Okay. That's
110,000 a month. But that's a
I
lot.
just I just decided I was going to go big.
You're gonna go big, yeah. No, I mean like I think it's like if you look at some of the other things that we talk about, like they don't come even close to under 10,000 a month. So
Yeah.
so that's actually, a lot of people are looking for this information.
Well, that's it's not terribly surprising because I know even somebody within our own group here does it. I'll just say that it's not me. But somebody within our group over here does it because of all the weird things that big companies do because they don't understand how to manage people. I know for a fact, because I've seen it, I know for a fact this one's already out there, right?
Yes. Go to tomshardware.com and you will find my magnum opus, the Mouse Jiggler Guide.
Oh, well.
I worked a lot of hours on this, testing different jiggle methods.
I don't doubt that, because you take everything seriously. Sometimes to a fault, but you do take everything seriously, which is why I always enjoy whatever you put out, because I know that it's gonna be complete.
No doubt.
Well, Avram, I appreciate this one. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to read as well. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, and of course hit the notification bell since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.